Hello, welcome to another Eagle 6 video. In this video today I'm going to be showing you how to remove and disassemble the Tokyo Marui M4 MWS gas blowback rifle's hammer unit, which is this box here, also known as the trigger unit or the Z box. Okay, so all we've done so far is we've removed the top section of the M4 and we've also removed the buffer guide and spring. Remove the buffer guide and spring because at some point you'll hit this little stopper here accidentally and it'll just fly out, take somebody's eye out. So that's removed just to stop it pinging out later. For the purpose of this video we're going to leave the stock tube on because we don't need to disassemble that in order to get the hammer unit out, and we're also going to leave the stock here, the grip on, because again don't need to remove that in order to get the hammer unit out. Okay, so we're going to start by pressing this hammer in here, okay, and the sear down so that it's cocked and primed. Okay, so the reason we're doing that is because in order for this fire selector to come out, that needs to be cocked. Okay, so we're going to press the right hand side here of this fire selector as we turn the fire selector around here to about that position there, somewhere between safe and semi, and it starts to now come out. Okay, so the rest of it just wiggle until the whole thing comes out. Okay, so we put that to the side. Next what we're going to do is remove the magazine release catch, and it's quite stiff in order to remove this. So what it is it's twisted in, so it's basically the magazine catch itself has got a thread on the end here, and this button just threads onto it, but you can't actually pull the button out that direction, so we have to press it through and then we're going to have to spin it off this particular side. Okay, so unfortunately there's no easy way of doing this, so you can get or make tools if you like, so there's something, you know, to go between your finger and the actual button just to take the pressure off it, but basically you're going to push all the way through so that this magazine release comes off here, and then we're going to spin it round. Just keep twisting until it comes off. Okay, you're going to want to be careful here because you don't want to mark your lower. There we go. Okay, so you can see there the thread that was going through and into the button. So we're now just going to drop the button out the other side and the spring. Okay, so next what we're going to do is we're going to knock out this pin here right in the middle. Okay, this one, that's just part of the actual lower. Okay, so there's no pin there. Okay, so ignore that one. This one we're going to knock through. We're going to knock through from right to left. Okay, because on the right hand side here it's clipped into a no ring. So you just want to find an appropriate sized pin punch. Just hammer that through. Retrieve that. Okay. So that's now that pin removed. Now there's one screw which is just down there holding the actual There's a securing screw for the actual hammer frame, inner frame. So we're going to use a Phillips screwdriver. I'm going to wind that out. Notice how the takedown pin here at the back, okay, we've got this pulled out, okay, so because if you push it all the way through, just for convenience purposes, so while you're disassembling it, then obviously you'll lift the hammer unit up and it'll hit into this takedown pin, okay, so we've pushed that out of the way. So now there is nothing that's securing this actual hammer unit in, okay, so now we're just going to have to be careful and we're going to have to prise it up. And unfortunately it is a tight fit in there, okay. Okay, so I've just turned it upside down here, because what we need is a point to press it down and out. So there's just the edge of the actual frame. I can sort of see through this gap here. So what I've done is just press down on that. Part of the actual frame has now come up that direction, so now we're going to have to evenly pull it out on both sides. So now I've just edged that side up a bit. And that side down. So see how it's now just edged up a little bit, but this side's now higher, so we're going to have to edge that side out. I'm just lifting up on this magazine release catch here, part A. It's actually pretty strong, so don't worry about breaking that particular bit. Okay, so now we've got to this point here. I'll use this bit here, the magazine release catch part B. Just get under that, and you can edge up just that last little bit there. Again, so this side is sitting slightly higher than this side. Then we edge that a bit up, and we keep going until this pops out, okay? Okay, don't worry if these bits fall off, I'll show you how to reassemble these in a second. Okay, right. So we've removed the hammer unit from the lower receiver. Now some pieces come off, so I'll just describe them for you. So we have a spring here. We'll just get it back to the point as if you've managed to take that out without any of these bits falling off. That's why. Okay, right. So now we've completely removed the hammer unit from the actual lower receiver. Okay, so just a quick once over. So parts that are going to fall off are going to be this it's called a slick cover, which is literally just a plastic bit which goes over this cover here. This is bulk catch part A, and its associated spring there, so that could potentially fall off for you. Bulk catch part B, which is this part here. Again, that just comes off but then goes back in that orientation there, and these other bits don't seem to fall off in this process. Okay, so that's how to get down to the actual hammer unit. Okay, so now we're down to the hammer unit. We've got these different parts I'll show you. So we're going to start off by, okay, so we've got the clicker and the clicker spring here for the fire selector. We've got bolt catch part A, bolt catch part B, bolt catch part C. This is the buffer or pin from the bolt catch system, and again the buffer spring there. Alright, okay, so this and this and this comprises the Z system, or Z system, so it's Z system, so because it is shaped like a Z here. Okay, so as the bolt catch comes through here, it hits this shock absorber which goes into this and cushions the impact of the bolt, okay, as it catches it. Then on the other side, there's nothing really apart from this slit cover, and you can see obviously the bolt catch, and this is the trigger arm, okay, which we cannot remove until we remove some other bits and bobs. Okay, you can see 1, 2, 3 screws and a pin that goes through there and a pin that goes through there. These 2 pins we're going to leave in. It's just going to make reassembly much easier later. Okay, so right, to start off with, then we'll disassemble the bolt catch or Z system. So we'll remove part B, part A and its associated spring. Next we will remove the slit cover, and we're going to use our, actually no, we'll just pull this out. This is the clicker for the fire selector. Just make sure you grab the spring, you don't want to lose that. Okay, so this buffer is under a lot of spring-loaded tension. Okay, so there's no easy way to do this. It will come out at 1,000 miles an hour, so maybe try and brace it in something if it is going to come flying out, and you're just going to want to pop this out, maybe with a set of tweezers or something, and just fire it into something that's going to take the impact. Okay, you don't want to lose that, and pull the associated spring out. Okay, so now we're going to move part C, which just pivots like this and isn't attached to anything, just plugs in. Okay, so you can see now a bit more. So we've got our semi-auto sear and our full auto sear and semi-auto, which is semi-auto is the left one and the full auto is the right one. We've got the sear pin which goes all the way through, which hammers through from this side going through to this side, but we're not going to remove that. We've also got a pin here which is the hammer pin. Again, we're not going to remove that either. Okay, and that would also hammer from this side through to that side. Okay, so that would be right to left for both of those pins, but we're going to leave them. So next what we're going to do is get into the heart of it. We're going to have 1, 2 and 3 screws off. Okay, Okay, now that the screws are out, we're going to flip it over. We're going to lift off this side. Okay, so that would be the right hand side of the inner frame. Okay, now flip it over, and we want to make sure that you recover this O-ring. Okay, now this is for the pin which we removed earlier. Okay, that clicks into there. Obviously you lose that O-ring, then this pin is just going to fall out while you're playing. Okay, so we'll put that to the side. There's nothing left in there. Okay, so a bit more going on now. So you can see here how we've got the valve knocker and valve knocker spring. Okay, and there's an associated pin which goes in there, but we're going to leave that in there. We've also got the hammer roller, and the hammer roller pin. We've got the hammer pin here which goes all the way through the actual hammer. Again, we're going to leave that in place. We've got the sears and the sear springs. Okay, so we're going to start off over here with the sears because they've got the springs that are potentially going to ping out. So we'll take out that first one, and then we can lift off that. That's the full auto sear, I believe. Yep. And then another spring underneath on the semi sear. Again, these springs, they're identical, so don't worry about mixing them ones up. I'm just going to release that hammer so it's in a better position there. Okay, so it comes together, it comes apart a lot better obviously with this hammer being its uncocked position. So next we'll remove this knocker, so we're just going to lift that off. Just put your thumb over that spring just in case it decides to, we'll just remove the spring first then. There we go. So that's the spring for the valve knocker off. Knocker. Okay, so this trigger unit lifts off. Don't worry if that falls apart. So with this trigger unit, ideally you want to pull that off as one piece, but I'll show you the disassembly of that in a second. Underneath the trigger unit is this trigger arm. It's got a cutout here, okay, and the cutout is the part which goes up and under that, okay, which stops it coming out from the other direction when it's all assembled. So it needs all this stuff to be out of the way with before it'll fall out. Okay, so we'll put the trigger arm to the side. Next we'll remove the hammer then, and we're gonna, as I say, we're gonna leave these pins in place. Now underneath the hammer is a spring. Okay, so you just want to take a spring off, tension off the spring. Again, using your tweezers. Number 7 specials from Boots. Okay, so once the tension's off that, we can now lift the hammer over the hammer pin here. Okay, so put the hammer spring to one side, just for demonstration. Just remove this roller pin. Okay, notice how it comes in from the side of the this concave hole here. So then we can tip our roller out. There's no direction to the roller, so put our hammer to the side. Notice how the hammer has a slit down this side to show you the orientation there when you're going back on. It's obviously going to go like that with the slit down for the hammer spring. So we now put this casing here, the inner frame, left hand side to the side. Just describe these particular bits. So we have trigger, which is this part here, part A, and trigger part B, which is this part on the top here, and trigger part B is associated spring. So we can remove those. So the slightly longer spring out of the two there is the trigger part B. Then we've got a sleeve which goes through the middle here, trigger sleeve I suppose it's called, and then I'll put that to the side, and then we can lift out the disconnector, this one's called, and the associated disconnector spring. Again, out of those two springs, this one is slightly shorter but slightly fatter, okay, and then the trigger there. So we're gonna, as I say, we're not going to disassemble these pins, but if you were, they hammer out from this particular direction. This pin here, however, you'll need an extremely thin pair of pliers in order to pull that out. So, but there's not many reasons why you would need to do that. So yeah, so these ones, as I say, they hammer from this direction, going through that way. Okay, righty, that's how you disassemble the Tokyo Marui M4 MWS gas blowback rifles hammer unit. Remove it and disassemble it. Thank you.